morning, Flosstube. This is Laura with Lala Stitches. Welcome back. It is a beautiful Friday early afternoon. I guess it is now. It's not morning. Scratch that. Good afternoon, everyone. Gosh, a rip roaring start already. Okay. If it's your first time with us, welcome. I'm glad you're here. We look at cross stitch, all my goodies, and if you're coming back, welcome back, my friends. I'm glad you've come. I am feeling so much better this time than the last video, which is so nice. I have had so much fun over the last couple of weeks reading your guys' comments. They've been so clever and so entertaining. The drawing has been done. That was done 2 days ago. And I do have names, which we will reveal at the end of this episode for our giveaway, which is very exciting. But thank you everyone for commenting, whether you participated in the giveaway or not. It's always such a pleasure to hear your stories and just talk to you, to communicate, and so thank you. Keep it up because I really love it. I love watching. I love responding as much as I can, and it's good. I did have one question which I started to respond to, and I responded to, but it was like a paragraph. This big to respond to it. So I deleted everything I had typed and decided to just do a real quick synopsis and say, hey, I'll talk about this more in the video. So here it is. Promise fulfilled. The question was about my Stitchy Schedule, which if you are new to Lala Stitches, the royal we, meaning I have been trying since about midsummer to stick to some sort of schedule in the idea that I will work on my projects with more focus. Let's just say it that way. Hi, baby girl. We've got a little pupper here who's feeling needy. Maybe just because I started talking and it had been quiet in here before, and it's very exciting when we hear voices in a quiet house. Anyway, so my Stitchy Schedule, I have days assigned. Each day has a theme, and then I fit a project into that theme. And then the idea is if I schedule it at the start of the week, I know what I'm stitching on for the week, and I'm less likely to squirrel into random projects. I have a whole shelf of projects that I love stitching on, and so focus was tough for me, and it's really helped. I've really enjoyed it. I've found it to be rather effective. Anyways, to the questions. The first part of it was, how long do I stitch on each project daily? And so the answer to that is I try to get in a few hours of stitching every day total, if I can. Some days it just doesn't happen, and that's okay, right? Like, life happens, and it's more important to do the important things than to stitch. But I do count my stitching as one of my important things. So I do make a pretty concerted effort to stitch on a daily basis. And when I'm able to, she worded the question, I've got some eyeball glare. Sorry about that. She worded the question in a way that it inferred that there was more than one project being worked on per day. And while I will confess I do work on multiple projects sometimes, I have been trying really hard to stop that. That's one of the things that I tended to do before my Stitchy Schedule. And so I have been trying to pick a project for that day and only stitch on that for the full time I'm able to, however long that may be. And then if I come home late or life gets busy or I just don't have time, I just don't stitch. And that's okay. If I can get in a few minutes, that's great, but I do this because I enjoy it, not because I'm trying to make money from it or get it out to somebody, or I just love the process. And so I want it to stay that way. I shared some stories last week or last video about my grandma, and that was my father's mother. My mother's mother was very gifted. She was gifted. She had so much talent. And she is who I credit a lot of my love for crafting to, her and my mother both. And she always said to keep it fun. If you're not enjoying it, you shouldn't be doing it. And I love that. That I was definitely the kind of child who, when she was teaching me to sew and stuff, I would get so frustrated and I would just want to throw it across the room and scream into a pillow or something, or both at the same time. I could get so frustrated with some things, and she really always tried to remind me to stop. If it's not fun, to stop doing it right then. It doesn't mean you don't come back to it, but to stop it for that minute. Don't try to be creative and create things while you're in that space of angst and anger sometimes. And I've tried to keep that in my head as I'm stitching or as I'm doing anything, my quilting, any of my my plethora of crafts. I want to keep it fun. So I try very hard to not pressure myself into having to do something when it comes to my crafts. So keep it fun. If you don't have time, that's okay. There's always tomorrow. Just let it roll off and go to that. And then trying to focus to one project a day. Now, I looked at my lineup. I worked on 8 different projects over the last 2 weeks. So it doesn't my schedule, the way I've kind of built it, it doesn't mean I'm not working. It doesn't mean I'm focusing on one project, period. It's just focusing daily, on a daily basis, a little bit more you know what I'm trying to say? Just focusing on the one per day is the idea. I have had, over the last month especially, a couple of days where I'd made my schedule and it was a great schedule. And then the day came and I was like, meh, I just don't want to work on that. It's not fitting my mood today. And so I have occasionally swapped, but when I'm doing that, I'm staying within the projects that I had already selected for the week. It's just being flexible with it to where I'm not stitching on something I'm not going to have fun with, because it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a pastime, a pleasurable way to pass the time. And if I am forcing myself to do it, it loses some of that. Even if I could eventually settle into it and be like, oh yeah, that was good. I made great progress. I don't want to sacrifice my enjoyment for the sake of progress. Anyways, so I hope that helps and answers your question. My last couple of weeks were busy, which is good. My husband came home sick last week, which, for anybody who has experienced sick husbands, I feel terrible for him. He doesn't get sick very often. He's a very healthy person in general, which is lovely. But when he's sick, he needs comfort. I think that's the best way to put it. Anyways, so I didn't have a ton of free time while he was home. And frankly, my health has been a bit of a roller coaster for the last month as well. So I was inclined to rest when I could. And then my father-in-law came into town, which was really fun. He always spoils us, and we went out and saw a movie and went to dinner. And I'm really late coming to the game. We saw Maverick, Top Gun Maverick. Really liked it. I don't have any complaints about that. And you know, you never know. I'd only heard good things going into it, so I had anticipated good things. But you never know with sequels how they will hold up to expectations, and that one certainly did. So that was really fun. We had a good time. This was okay. I think we're about ready to move into cross stitch. This was a week of, and I'm so sorry for all of the glare. I don't know if I can reduce that at all, but the sun is really coming out after a very, very gray morning. Oh, there it went behind a cloud or something. We'll see how it goes. Sorry, guys. Anyways, so on top of being a busy week where I was just in general had less time for stitching, I also apparently my head was not in the game because there was so much frog stitching. Ugh, yuck. It was not fun. I felt like every time I picked up a project, everything I had done the previous session on it was wrong. And so I spent probably as much time ripping things out this week as I did putting things in, which is thankfully an unusual circumstance, but it was not fun. I did not enjoy that at all. Anyways, let me get my tablet all awake here, get it to recognize my face, and we'll just start on Monday's stitchings, which is for me Mira Monday, so any of my Mirabilia projects would count for that. And I worked on my birthday Virgo and Stargazer. So Virgo, oh, we're gonna have a glare problem with the sunshine. So that is where we were. Excuse me, I'm gonna stand up just for a moment. Oh, squeak. We'll see if that helps. I just tilted the shades up, as long as it doesn't get too dark in here, right? Okay. This, try again. So this is where we started. It's a little bit blurry, but gives you the basic idea. I'd gotten a great start on her when last we met, and I absolutely adore her. She's so beautiful, so beautiful. Ultimately, she will become this. And so you can see there's bead work. There's a lot of beads through her hair. A lot of this in here is beads. And I do have some of her beads. I ambitiously thought that I would get to the point this month where I would need the beads. And while I have made great progress, I'm nowhere near ready for beads. So that was very optimistic of me. But here's where we are. Oh, I love her. I absolutely love her. Her choker is now in. And we've got a little bit more of the arc, and her dress, which, let's be honest, after doing her hair, was pretty boring as far as colors go. But I'm really, really excited. A lot of these negative spaces are going to be some of these variegated colors. And so they'll be a lot of fun to stitch because they'll morph into beautiful things as it goes. I did run out of one of her flesh colors though, so I had to I was planning on getting her hands and arms finished, and I had to stop because I need to run out and get a number of flosses. My floss list is as long as my arm. So it's Virgo. She's stitched on a 32 count Belfast linen in the color Lilac. And I'm still loving stitching on her. She is, however, other than my the third of every month is my birthday stitch day. And she was my birthday stitch this year. So other than the third, she's actually, it's kind of sad. She's going away. But I have a really fun Halloween lineup for October. So we've got to make space for her. All right, set her down there. Then Stargazer. This is what she will be. And she's just so beautiful. I absolutely love her. And this is where we started. I had gotten her face back stitching done, which absolutely transformed her. And then had finished the ribbons coming off her bustle and her hair. And I'm so excited for this one. This one it's still, how do I say it? It still brings me great happiness to see this one grow because she's absolutely gorgeous. So I got her bustle completed. Everything that needs to be stitched is stitched. All of the holes at this point will be beads, which, so many beads. And then I brought, this is actually the outer edge of her skirt where it pools, and then it will pool around like this. But I've kind of defined the outer dimensions of that there, which is exciting. That feels like a landmark anytime you're stitching and you're like, oh yeah, this is the edge of the design. This is as big as it's gonna get. It's pretty exciting. This is on a mystery linen. It might be a Zweigart of some kind, but I purchased the supplies for this many moons ago, and it's mystery, but it's beautiful. I am loving how she pops off of it. So that's very fun. And she will stay in my rotation through October because she has mystical October qualities that we're making up for it. My next one, so now we're moving to Tuesdays. My theme for that is Tiny Tuesday. And I did a new start. So Hocus Pocus is the one I'm doing out of this group, Hands-On Designs. And I mean, it's the year we finally got a sequel for it. So, and I think it actually comes out today. I will probably be waiting a couple weeks to watch it, but I'm still loving all of the things people are creating in their excitement for it. So, with some ripping, I got the frame completed. And on this one, I'm stitching this one on mystery linen as well. I believe it's a Weeks charcoaly one. I know it's a Weeks. It feels like a Weeks. They have kind of that floppy quality to them, but I ordered two floss, the orange colors. I can see colors. The green and the purple were so cute on the original that I wanted to keep those the same. And then when I was kitting this up, I didn't want to be purchasing let's be honest, I didn't have the money to purchase the other hand-dyed. So what I did was I pulled from stash. So there's two little pumpkins that sit in here, and those are just from stash colors. And then the white that comes through here was supposed to be bamboo. I think I wound up using a parchment or some other Weeks Dye Works, or Classic Color Works or something, some other pretty creamy white color. Anyways, I made huge progress on this. I was surprised, for one, that it was so tiny, and surprised also that despite, okay, so my error was when I got down on this side, I had omitted an entire row, which isn't very many stitches, but once you come down here and do most of this, you have to rip all of that out. And then I only came like a part way over, and I then came down the other side, and I had added an extra row. So everything was meeting on like a staircase over here. Whatever. I got it fixed. We ripped it out. I walked away for a little bit and came back and was like, okay, this is a cute frame and I want it done, because once you get the body of the frame done, I think the rest will just go super fast. Okay, so then we get to Whatever Wednesday, and this too was a new start. It was a new start. Get this to recognize my face. Oh, I've got to go into here. And so this one's called Autumn Town, which I had a picture of last week and is now missing in action. So it goes. It is, I should have a picture in the bag though. There might be a little bit of rattling here for just a second. That's probably why I didn't have it on the, yep, there we go. Okay, so this is Autumn Lane. Sorry for the noise. Autumn Lane Stitchery's Autumn Town. And it's super cute. And I found a piece of linen that I adore for it, because as you can see, there are naked spots through all of this dense stitching that are actually pieces of the linen showing through, almost like a, I don't know, never mind, my brain just died. Anyways, so I wanted it to be something that would be pretty showing through if possible, and I'd had a different piece that I am stitching my Earth Goddess on, and it's a beautiful piece of linen. I really like it, but it was a little bluer than this depicts here, and when I started throwing floss onto it, I was like, it would work, but it wasn't like, ooh, it will work. And that's what I was looking for, especially after I went out and bought a handful of spectacular silks to stitch the trees in. Anyways, I found this. It is 32 count parchment by Fiber on a Whim, and it's very green despite being called parchment, but that's okay because that's what we wanted. And this is how far I got. Which, I mean, yay, a pumpkin. It doesn't look super impressive when you pan it out this far and it's this little square in the corner. But there's a lot of stitches in there. So I'm proud of myself. And I also had to rip more than half of this fence out because the fence was actually correct except for this little block of 12 stitches, which was one square too far to the right. So when I went to add this lighter color of brown in, the fence didn't match. And normally in like if it was in the middle of a project or something, I would totally fudge the heck out of that. I'd be like, oh, nobody's gonna know that's not exactly how it was supposed to be. And I would just tweak things and make it work and it would fit. But this happens to be on the edge of a very well-defined corner, and having a whole row of 4 stitches out the outside of that edge just wasn't floating my boat. That wasn't gonna fly. So I'm very excited to get some of these branches in because that's my first big, beautiful golden tree. And you can bet your sweet booty that I will be stitching a golden tree this week or next week, next Wednesday. It's so pretty. I'm so excited to see this one grow. Is it weird that I pull out my projects? I'm like, it's so pretty, everything I've done. Feels a little self-congratulatory now that I think about it. Oh well, I worked hard for it. Okay, where we started, that is here. So my next one that I pulled out on Thursday. So Thursdays for me is Kit Thursday. I have a lot of kits that I've purchased, and from Dimensions into a lot of other companies. And I wanted to find a day that I could work on those and they would get some love. So Thursday it is, and I've been working the last 2 weeks, both Thursdays. All I did was this sweet little owl. And the first session with him was very limited. It was one of those days I did not have much time, and if I got 200 stitches in, I would be surprised. But I love stitching on this one. He has such personality, and he's growing. Oh, I didn't show you where we were. Okay, I'm back. I had a bit of an earthquake from my hands. I dropped one thing and everything else went everywhere. And in the midst of that avalanche of everything going everywhere, somehow I stopped the video. Naturally, I kept talking for probably another 15 minutes. So, you know. So, all of a sudden I realized that there was no timer in the corner of my screen and something was just wrong. Glad I checked when I did. So we were talking about our sweet little owl, and this is where we were. This is where I started after our oh, there we go. That's a good angle. After the last time we met, and he's so cute, and he finally has a face. But now he has more of a body, which is excellent as well, because he looks like this. He's just so curious. Peek. So in this area is going to be a space where the stem of the mushroom comes down, and then we've got his little belly here, which is all very light colors, creams, very soft creams and whites, and I tend to leave those until towards the end of my projects, just so they don't get dirty. I mean, I wash my hands before I stitch every time so that they're as clean as possible, but you know, hands are gross, and I would hate to, I don't know, you just never know. So I tend to leave it unless there's some reason not to. His belly will probably be one of the later things to come into stitchedness. Okay. The brain is completely derailed after the avalanche of things. He's very cute. I love him. I love stitching on him. He is going to go into a temporary retirement until November, so that I have the time to stitch on my spooky things. So he'll come back out in November, but until then, we say sayonara to Umbrella with Owl. On Fridays is my Fancy Lady or Fairy Fridays, and I haven't stitched on any fairies in a few weeks, which is sad because I have many, but they aren't very autumnal. So they've been demoted for goddesses, which are more so. And this is gorgeous. Gaia the Earth Goddess, Bella Filipina. It's my first Bella Filipina, and I am absolutely adoring the stitch so far. I love my linen. I love the chart and how the colors are coming together, and everything about it is happy stitching. So this is where I started, and was it this week that was sadness and I had to rip out? I don't remember if it was this week. Sometime in the month of September, I have had to rip out this, oh, what did I just do? Magic. Interesting. Learn something new about your iPad every day you use it. Anyways, somewhere in this area, I had to rip out what I had previously done because I'd missed like 5 or 6 rows. You know how it goes. These patterns, they get a little more involved and your brain does a little, and suddenly it looks like the right space, so you keep stitching, and later, lo and behold, you have to fix it. That may have been last week. Anyways, I made good progress. It doesn't look like much, but I added a ton down here. I've extended and corrected this. I've added some of the green coming into the front of her skirt, and I believe I added, no, that was already there. Okay, so it was mostly progress down the front. Anyway, not bad for one day stitching because she only got attention once, where a lot of the others have had attention twice because today is Friday. So today is actually her day for getting some stitches. So I love it. I love my linen. Oh, it's so pretty. It is Fortnite Fabrics Mind Blowing. And I think it's going to be really great once you get more of her on it. Let's see if I can get this out. Yeah, there we go. And you can see she's got that crown or antler wings. She's got both. She's got antler wings and a crown. But then there's also this pool of deep purple down at the bottom. So I kind of placed her on the linen so that the pool of purple would be coming in this darker spot, and then the antler wings would come out towards this darker spot. Anyways, I'm very excited to get to exciting moments like that. Right now, she's beautiful. She's a pleasure to stitch, but she's pretty much stitching. It feels like I'm stitching a lot of yellow, which is okay. I like yellow just fine. She too, let me look at my lineup. Yes, she too, we are saying goodbye to until November. So other than today, because today is still September for a few more hours, other than today, she will go away for a little bit. Okay. So Saturdays I work on SALs. I am a chronic starter of SALs and terrible at keeping up with them or finishing them. I also tend to purchase SALs after they've kind of run their course. And I can see that I'll like all of it. That sounds so terrible when I say it out loud, but it's the truth. I want to know what I'm stitching unless I absolutely adore the designer and I can just trust that I'll like it no matter what. Anyway, so I have a large number of SALs, frankly. and so again, I needed a day to give them a little bit of attention. So this last Saturday, I worked on my autumn at Hawk Run Hollow, which you've seen probably. It's gorgeous. I am tweaking it though. So I had purchased a piece of linen, and I don't know if I cut a piece off or if it was just never right or if I did the math wrong while I was in the cross stitch shop. It could have been all of the above, frankly. And anyways, long story long, it was the wrong size and it wouldn't all fit. And so I literally put it away last year without a stitch going into it because my brain melted when I realized that. And I was like, what do I do? I mean, what do I do? And I vacillated between buying another piece of linen or stitching 1/1, which sounded like torture. And I just basically didn't want to think about it. So I put it away and I pulled it out earlier this summer and I decided, well, I did a lot of math and figured out that I could fit a certain amount on it. And what I'm going to do so this original design is actually there's these little squares, 6 squares tall plus the banner at the top. And if I want to keep the banner at the top, which I do, I like it, on my piece of linen, I needed to only do 6 squares. So I had to cut half of the project out, which is one of the reasons I put it away last year, is because I was so sad to have to do that. But it's settled into a place that I'm actually very excited about, because I have picked my 6 favorite, specifically autumn themed squares from it, and I've given it a layout here, and then I'll keep the banner at the top. So it'll be a half project, basically. Still a ton of stitching. It's still gonna be a while before this is anywhere near ready to hang on a wall, but I'm really excited about it. And because I liked the whole thing so well, there's a strong possibility that I will stitch the smaller, the leftover autumn themed squares into little pillows, or maybe just a little side project that I could hang near or in the same room. But I have taken these 2 Halloween pieces, which I loved. I love the witch with the broom and the cat and that moon with his big old nose. I love it. So I didn't want to see those go away. So I'll show you in a little bit what I did with those. It was a whole day of arts and crafts. It was excellent. Anyways, all of that preamble is to say, I worked a little bit on the banner, and I didn't get a lot done, but part of that is just because this corn is all confetti. There's like 7 different colors in that corn. It doesn't look like it, but there are. So I have the top banner done. Well, the outline done. You can see I've blocked out, and I don't have a lot of extra on this. I'm aware of that. I'm gonna do a soft finish for it, like I've done. I'll finish it quilt form, like I've done with my my little frosted pumpkin stitchery there. I just wanted to be able to use this linen. I love the color of it, and I didn't want to branch away from that, so that is my solution for it. I am altering some of the colors, not all. So this corn is the original called for colors, but then this pumpkin, you can see there's just a little bit of variegation in there. It's very subtle. That is because I have swapped out for some overdyes in some of the bigger blocks, just to give them a little bit of interest and make it my own. So yeah, it's a start. It's actual color instead of just frames, which is very exciting. And it has forward motion, which also feels very good after literally shoving it in my cubby last year. I'm kind of wanting to cry because I was so disappointed. Anyway, it's a good solution, I think. Oh, I didn't say what that was stitched on. Maybe because I don't remember. Well, it's a mystery right now, I guess, because I don't know where to look without digging through everything. Okay, so we had, I think it was the end of last week. Yeah, end of last week, going into the weekend, we had our 24th and 25th of the month, which I've designated as holiday stitching days. So I stitch on Christmas stuff, and it usurps any other plans that I would have had for that day, as in my themes, you know. Anyway, so I worked on Santa's trip, and this, again, it's one of those days I didn't have a ton of time to stitch, but I wanted to get something done. And so this is where this is where we started. I had finished all but the antlers on what you guys have lovingly dubbed my camel reindeer, which I think is hilarious, and he will forever be a camel reindeer. in my eyes. Yeah. He's not a camel anymore, even though that is his new name. Okay, this is where we got. He has antlers. I added the outline for this next block, and I worked some up here and went in and finished the berries. I think that there were like 2 or 3 berries that I hadn't quite finished off in this one. Anyway, super cute. It's called Santa's Trip. It was a Barbara Anna stitch along 2 years ago. I want to say it was 2020 that I started this one, or at least I bought the patterns. I don't know if I started it that year or not. Chronic. I'm stitching this on R&R linen. It's called Beach Brew, 32 count. And I think it has a nice classic traditional look against the reds and greens, and I love it. It's so pretty. I absolutely adore this border around it. It's one of the things that she teased with, and I knew before I saw anything that was going to be in the squares that I would be buying this one just because I loved the border. Okay, so the last thing I stitched on over the last 2 weeks was, we'll call it my second birthday start, because I found it at my local needle shop, Threadneedle Street, and I saw it. It was a kit, and I was there with another purpose, which I was very diligent at sticking to for the most part. And she just like needled her way into my heart and my brain, and I couldn't let it go. And so within a week, I went back and purchased her kit. I think she is absolutely, I just think she's absolutely beautiful. So elegant, and the details as you start to look into her surroundings, the birds and this little nest and the butterfly. I mean, everything about this delights me. So she's called Into Dreamland, and I got a start on her. A pretty good start too, frankly. For full coverage, she's gonna be on this big old piece of Aida, which after I've opened it up is a lovely soft Aida. I was worried that it would be really stiff and uncomfortable to stitch on, and you can't soak these because that makes the lines go away. So if it had been really uncomfortable to work with, you know how some of those, some Aidas, not all by any means, but some Aidas can be very, very stiff and scratchy. And if it was like that, I was inclined to swap over to a gridded Lugana to stitch on, but this is lovely. I'm very satisfied with it, and it's easy to stitch on, and yeah, it's gonna be great. Anyways, so this is my start. Woo-hoo-hoo. We have green. Adding that little bit of rust in there was exciting. And it's not focusing very well. Maybe because my face is there. Don't want to see my face. You want to see my stitching. Anyways, it's been super fun. This is my first truly full coverage, large scale piece. I've done some very stitch dense pieces before, but this is truly full coverage, and I'm liking it. I'm vibing with it. I'm very excited. I believe this little spot right here is the tail on a bird. We might get our first creature. This one, despite not being Halloween, she has taken my Sunday slot for stitching, and she's gonna stay there because I love it, and I'm just gonna ride that momentum. Because this is going to be a long-term stitch, certainly. Yeah, so that's everything I worked on. I did make a couple of project bags, which I thought I would share with you because they're cute. I'm not super thrilled with the final product. I normally like to use a product called Soft and Stable for my project bags. It just has a little bit more body, and I stand my bags in little buckets, baskets and stuff, and they just stand up nicely, and they feel better. So that's my preferred filler, if you will, for project bags, but I didn't have any, and I really wanted to get a couple of new ones put together for some of my Halloween stitches, which have just been in plastic bags since my sweet little goober down here destroyed most of my project bags that were Halloween themed. Anyway, so I'll just show you those really quick because they're cute so I use batting and they're very floppy. They're very floppy, but they'll work and they're super cute. This might be my favorite one. I absolutely adore this fabric. And the little Kitter Cat in the Field of Pumpkins, here I'll flip it over so it's not shiny, is so precious. And her little sass with her glasses and the frog. I love that there's one reading. I mean, they're just... And this one is fussy cut, so she would show on the front because I love... You gotta... Curly girls, right? We gotta stand together. And I've always admired the African American density of their curls. My hair is very curly, but it's also very fine, and so it would never stand, despite the fact that I can get a lot of volume out of it. It never looks anything near something as cute as that. So I'll put it on my project bag instead, since I can't have it on my head. The other one I did is this one, which, get the glare off, is this cute old Thimbleberries fabric, which Thimbleberries were so big, so popular about, how long has it been? Almost 20 years ago, when I started working in quilt shops. And it wasn't really my thing, but I loved this one. It just looks like vintage postcards, and so I've had a couple yards hoarded away for a number of years. Oh my gosh, I love this owl. He is so spooky and cute. Anyways, it turns out the older I get, the more I love this fabric. And I actually have 2 project bags out of this now. That has turned into the perfect application for it. This is my last project bag I made. I think it's an art gallery fabric. I've got a string still because they're brand new. Anyway, I really like this one. And the selvage was so cute. I forced it through this tiny little zipper hole to make a pole because those little witch hats just made me giggle. They're so fun. I love this. I love the moths, the bats, the jars full of mystery things. It's just fun fabric. Anyways, they'll be really great and far superior to my gallon baggies that I've been using in their stead. So I thought before we got to the drawing, I would just run really quickly through what Halloween stitches I will be working on, since all but one of the projects you saw today will be going away for the month of October. So what will I be stitching on for the next 2 weeks? It took me a minute or 10 to figure out my Stitchy schedule for the Halloween projects because they didn't really fit the parameters I had set before. Stargazer is staying, so I've still got my Mira Monday, but other than that, none of them super fit the categories. So I wound up just assigning a project to the day of the week. And they're Saturday, I have 3 sals that are Halloween themed. So that one, I guess that one could stay the same too. But the rest of the days I just assigned a project to. So they will stay consistent through the month of October. And the only flexibility will happen if I finish something, which is not likely, but not impossible. Or on Saturdays, I can bounce between the 3 sals if the mood strikes. So I'll just show you those real quick, and then we'll get to the fun part. Okay, so this first one is a Barbara Anna, and I believe it was originally released in a 3-part series. I think that's how my pattern is put together. I think it's really fun. I love this like willow tree and just all these little busy witches. It's called Black Cat Hollow, and I am stitching it on this gray called Pearl Gray. It's Belfast linen. I have stacked on top of my white cardboard. Here we go. Just so we have some opacity. Is that how you say it? Is that a word? So it's more opaque? All right, that's where I'm coming into my Halloween stitching with. I just did a start on this, got one corner of it established. It's a, what is the count? 32 count. And I'm doing 2 over 2 for my stitching on this. So I love it's very viney and interesting. I like it. I'm excited to get into it. I'm doing the call for colors all but for these this big expanse of green was originally this DMC, which is kind of a baby poop color, for lack of a better way to put it. Oh, it's just not my favorite color. But I wanted it to feel, I still want it to feel very, and it would probably stitch up great. I'm probably faithless, but I'm going to switch it out for pea pod and make my grass. I think it still looks pretty, you know, the tired end of year grass color rather than bright fresh grass. It's a little bit greener, like truer green. It's not as brown as the original, but I think I'll like it better that way. I just didn't love how muddy this color was. I want it to be green. So green it shall be. Though when I will get to stitching with it, we don't know. But it could happen sooner than later since it's in the rotation now. So that will be on Sleepy Hollow. No, that's Black Cat Hollow. So that's a Saturday. I'm going through the week backwards apparently. My stack is backwards. Okay, so here's where we get to my Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow, which I consider a sal because they're in blocks and they count. They count for that in my head. So this is the original and I adore it. I think my mom bought the pattern for me one year. We were at the shop together and I was like, oh, this one's on my bucket list. But these are not inexpensive patterns. And so it wasn't one I was inclined to just, you know, tuck into the basket without some thought. And bless her heart, she did it for me. So, but I am tweaking it as I mentioned, and I'm taking the blocks from Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow, and I've added them in. And then I shifted, I didn't want to lose my scarecrow, so this is where the bones were. And they are very cute, but that's a lot of really dense stitching. And I don't know. I really like this, what looks like a terrified cat on the pumpkin. And I just thought it was fun, and it balanced out. This is a very dense one, and up in this corner there's a lot of open space, so it felt like with my new additions it kind of balanced out the open space a little bit more to have that there. Anyways, some of my brain thoughts as I cut and pasted. Is this one? No, that's the same one. I don't know why I pasted over it. Maybe I had shifted it around a bit, but anyway, so that's going to be my version of Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. And I have done very many stitches in this. I started stitching it before I made the adjustments. 2/2. And this is on a 40 count tin roof weeks linen. And it was too thick. It was too heavy. So you can see the shadows of my poor, sad, ripped out stitches. And I am replacing them with 1/1. So I know it's impressive, super impressive. But we've got a plan. Again, it's one of those ones that's taken a bit of thinking about and tweaking and apparently test running. And it is now settled and ready to be moved forward with. So I'm excited to work on this one. Definitely working on this one. Okay. The next one for Saturdays, so these are the 3 that I could bounce between, is the Frosted Pumpkin Stitcheries Halloween Spooky Sampler, which is glaring on us, but it's very cute. And I have 2 of the 3 in the top row completed, and I am making some floss alterations on this. I'm keeping the same base color for everything. I'm not like making my ghost green like Ghostbusters or anything like that, but I'm changing out the DMCs for some over dyes, and again, just kind of tweaking it to make it my own, which is fun. Okay, so this one, last time I showed it to you in my whip parade, I didn't have the full picture up, so I found one. This one came in 2 different patterns, so I kind of held them up together. It's not focusing. This picture doesn't do it justice. I saw it stitched up in acorns and threads and fell in love. I love it. It's so cute. Happy Halloween, and then your year, which I would assume I'll probably make my finish year rather than my starting year, or whatever it says. Anyways, it's so pretty, and I bought my linen and most of my floss that day. I'm stitching this on Fox and Rabbit linen 36 count baked clay. Baltimore is what it's called, and I don't have very much started, but I swapped out my back color. So they were out of stock on the called for, and I was like, oh, well, it's black, right? And then I found this black, and this black is called the Witching Hour. What an appropriate name. But, and this is probably not going to do it justice, it has an ever so subtle purpley red hint to it. I don't know how to describe it. It's like looking into the heart of a berry. It's absolutely gorgeous. And that is my bats, my black for that one. Anyway, not a huge start, and I need to edge my fabric because we don't want runaways, but that'll be really fun to pull out. That will be on Thursdays. Okay. The Blue Flower, who I love her designs. Halloween Parade, which just gives me a giggle. Everything about this is so whimsical and delightful, and I I love it. I got a start on it last year because it's, again, like I said, I love it and I wanted to start it. Even though I'm pretty sure I bought it towards the end of the Halloween season, which is probably the only reason I don't have more done. This is on Weeks Linen Mocha, and it's just part of the tree for my start, but I'm using the Call for Colors because they are delicious. They're so pretty. It's just like if autumn were in floss. There it is. I'm so excited. I'm excited to do some of these little animals in costumes. They'll be really fun. And I should probably find Gracie a skeleton costume. That seems appropriate. She's unconscious behind me. This one will be a new start this season. I fell in love with it a couple of years ago and then didn't see the chart anywhere and then came across it last year. But again, it was the end of the season. I'm pretty sure it was the same day I bought Halloween Parade. And I just didn't have the energy to start something new. Last fall was a bit of a roller coaster for my family. But I absolutely adore this one. So I have my linen. It's going to be the same one that Halloween Parade is on. And I'm very excited to start this one. I will probably start with the border. So that'll be a new start. And then my only other new start for this year is this cute little one, Sleepy Hollow. I think it's adorable, and I love all of the little owls on the tree and the acorns, and again, it's just charming. And I found the same day this really fun Belfast linen. It just has this kind of like a misty texture to it. That's what it makes me think of. So, and I think it will look very Halloween-y. I'm really excited to start this one. This one will go on Tuesdays, so I don't have to wait long to start this one. And then Away We Ride is going to be my new Friday stitch. So anyways, I've got my spooky lineup all ready to go. I am ready for October. I'm so excited. I wish that Washington was ready for October. Apparently, we are going to be in a state of perpetual end of summer, which for some people is lovely. And I mean, it's lovely for me too, but I would like it to be cold enough that I could wear a sweater for more than 2 hours every day. And as much as I love the sun, we could really use some true rain around here. We've still got the big fire burning in the mountains by Highway 2, and the land is parched, my friends. It is just parched. So we need some rain. Okay, so anyways, moving on. I've got to find where I wrote down my winners. This should have been on the top of my paper stack. I know I did it. Is this it? Yes, I found it. Okay, I knew it was near the surface somewhere. I'm not totally unorganized. Okay, so drum roll, everybody. Last video I announced with much excitement and astonishment, frankly, that my channel had reached 2,000 subscribers, which is excellent. It's so fun, and so fun because not only is it rewarding to see that people are enjoying the videos, but it's giving me exposure to people all around the world. I mean, I've had little comment chats with people from everywhere from Norway to Australia and the UK and all across the United States and Canada, and it is so much fun. You guys, we're a worldwide community, and I am so humbled and honored to be a part of it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun to be here and to do this. And so I felt like 2000 was a good number to celebrate. And so I'm giving away 2 patterns. And I've got my winners here. I just used the random comment generator to pick them. And let me write this down real quick on this dirty piece of paper. Here, we can do better than that. D dot stitches at gmail.com, and I'll put this down. I always actually put it down in the information below my videos. This is my stitching email that you can reach me at. So if your name is mentioned, my 2 names, just send me your address, please, in this email, to this email address, and I will get those out as quickly as I can. So the cat winner for Scaredy Cat, which is this sweet pattern, including the little charms, is Jerry, Geri. Congratulations! Yay! I wish I had like dingy bells or something I could do that would make it more of an event, because it feels like an event. Congratulations, Jerry. Thanks for watching my videos and being part of this adventure with me. And send me an email, because I want to get this in the mail to you so you can start stitching on it. It's the eve of all the Halloween stitching, so we got to get it to you quick. Okay, the second one, which I've tucked in a little plastic so it doesn't get all goobered up, is The Owl Sings by Heart and Hand, and it also has the little bead packet that comes with it. I have already stitched this, and it only uses a few beads, so they gave ample, which is fun because it means when I pass it along, you guys don't have to go scrounging around for 5 or 6 little beads. And our winner for The Owl Sings, drumroll, is Betty Hankins. Yay, Betty! I'm so glad to share these with you. Send me an email and I'll get it out as quick as I can. Yay! That was so fun. It feels weird to be drum rolling to myself in my room, but I'm truly excited for you guys. I hope that you're happy and that you enjoy these stitches. They were a lot of fun for me to do. So it's fun to be able to share that with you guys. I have folded over my list. Okay, so my plans for the next couple weeks are those 2 new starts I showed you and just Halloween stitches. It's gonna be a quiet couple of weeks. We don't have a lot of plans, which is kind of nice. I will say though, my next video will be coming to you a little bit delayed. It will be on the 17th of October rather than, I think it would have been the 14th otherwise. And that is because I'm going to go visit some family for a couple of days on the other side of the state. And so I'm not going to film while I'm spending time with them. I'll just get a couple more days of stitching in while we watch movies and drink cider and make apple pie and stuff like that. And then I'll come at you with even more progress, hopefully. Unless we just play too much and I don't do any stitching, which is entirely possible. Anyways, thank you so much for sticking it out if you're still with me, and for sharing this joy of cross stitch with me. I have so much fun with these videos and so much fun reading your comments. Please continue to comment, even if it's just to say, hey, from ... location. Like, it's so fun to see where you guys are all coming from, and I wish we could all get together and just stitch. But until then, this is a lovely substitution. I wish you all the health and happiness for the next couple of weeks, and I will see you again soon. Happy stitching, my friends.